Modern Pagan TV considers education of the non-pagan public and of our own world community about pagan religions to be of paramount importance and encourages open dialogue across all platforms with the understanding that all voices have an equal right to be heard. Modern Pagan TV encourages participation in multiple spiritual events as the tradition and the individual deems appropriate, and maintains that courtesy and open-mindedness and not denigration are paramount to any discussion. So sit back or join in. Modern Pagan TV is streaming live.
The pitch got higher, all the drums went out to the edge, and it got higher, and it got loud, and the girls were out screaming and, shrieking and dancing. And when it got to this peak, it just stopped, dead silence. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to our studio audience tonight. It's always fun to have a live audience, don't you think?
It is.
I think it's great. Yeah, all right. Well, welcome to our 8th show. It's February 28th. This would normally be the last day of February, but it's not. We have one more to go.
Yep. This is a leap month. Yeah. In a leap year.
Yeah. Cool. How exciting. Yeah. That's fun. I always like that. I always feel sorry for people who are born that day. Because they only get a real
very, very slowly.
Slowly, yeah. Right. So anyway, all right. So welcome. It's a very interesting day of weather in Colorado today. We had rain and snow and wind. Apparently, it's going to be really bad when we leave.
Is it?
Yep.
I live up in the mountains, and the wind is always higher up there.
Yeah.
And the cold.
Yeah. No, that's true.
10, 12 degrees colder.
12 degrees. Wow, that's a lot. During the summer, it must be nice.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, when it's in the 90s and high 90s down here, it's in the
You should magic
mid-80s.
that. How come you're not magicking that?
I do. That's why it's up there.
Oh, okay. All right, that was good.
It travels with me when I come down
Does
here.
Does it? All right. Well, warm it up for when we leave. So that would be nice. All right. So, speaking of magicking things, I think the stars are magical. Let's find out what they have to tell us about magic and the stars tonight.
All right, here we go. Let's do it,
Heather. Welcome to Flying Through the Skies, a witch's view of the cosmos, Modern Pagan TV's astrological report for the week beginning February 26, 2012. For our solar report, the sun entered Pisces, the sign of the fishes, on Saturday, February 18th at 11:08 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Pisces is a fruitful, mutable, common, feminine expression of water and remains in the first decant of the sign of Pisces, ruled by Neptune, until Friday, March 1st, when it enters the second decant of Pisces, which is ruled by the moon. Neptune is the ruler of the sign of Pisces and governs our dream world, our subconscious, past lives, and karma. With Pisces in this decant of Neptune, the dreamy quality of Pisces is increased. The drive and focus for this placement is ethereal and escapist. This is the truest expression of Piscean energy, flowing into the extreme mysticism or extreme delusion. Do not be deceived by this placement of the sun. Even with this dreamy quality, there is a fanatical fierceness that accompanies this placement. The tendency to be drawn into cult-type thinking is strong, and we must be clear on our own issues and life journey during this period. On Thursday, when the moon enters the second decant of Pisces, ruled by the moon, this will increase lunar qualities, lending a changeable, intuitive expression to the sign. And now for our moon report. We start this week off with a moon void of course on Sunday, February 26th, having left Aries at 3:52 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. The moon will enter Taurus at 5:29 a.m. Mountain Standard Time the same day. The moon leaves Taurus, turning void of course at 10:46 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Tuesday, February 28th. The moon will then enter Gemini at 6:27 p.m. Mountain Standard Time that same day. The moon turns void of course again on Friday, March 2nd, as it leaves Gemini at 4:14 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. At 6:08 a.m., the moon will shift into Cancer, the sign of its natural expression, where it will remain until this week concludes. Magical timing and moon rites. There's much discussion around moon magic, so I would like to address a couple of areas here for better understanding for those new to the craft and as graceful reminder for those not so new. Last week I spoke on the crone, dark, and new moon phases. This week, because we have a growing moon, I would like to speak on the waxing or growing phases of the moon. While in our modern world we have access to calculation tools for plotting the astrological points and exact degrees of the planetary and luminary movement, our grandmothers used the night sky to observe the cycles of the moon. And where the stars rose and set in the heavens told them what and when to plant and which rites to construct. When they looked up and saw our mother moon change from small to large, they changed the focus of the work. When the new moon began to develop and become fuller, then it was time to focus on calling to or expanding that which they wanted in their lives. They knew that abundance magic and healing rites that reverse wasting type illnesses or scarcity were supported during a growing moon, and they knew to wait until they saw the first sliver of silver appear before constructing these rites. During this cycle, the moon grows through the first quarter and makes serious headway towards the full moon, which will occur during the next week's cycle. Magical and healing work that adds or brings to is supported from 3.5 days after the new moon through the full moon. Conversely, magical and healing work that takes away, shrinks, or diminishes is supported from 3.5 days after the full moon through the dark moon. Void of course moons. Void of course moons function similarly to a crone or dark moon in that they serve incompletions. We do not start new work during a void of course, but can finish what was started while the moon was firmly rooted in a sign. Now for our retrograde watch. Mars continues its retrograde in Virgo and will remain so until Friday, April 13th, 2012 at 10:53 a.m. when it will turn direct. Mars represents direct energy, physical expression, individual action, and assertiveness, as well as anger, desire, sexuality, competitiveness, and motivation for self-interest. Mars energies tend to burst forth, exerted in short duration. Every 2 years, Mars goes retrograde for 2 to 2.5 months. What often results are upsets and frustrations in daily life as emotions which should be externalized become internalized. A kind of chewing up of oneself. When you finally explode, it is as likely as not that in doing so you will be acting out aggressively against your own self-interest. Saturn continues its retrograde sojourn through Libra and will remain so until June 25th at 3 a.m. of this year when it turns direct. Saturn deals with karma, limits, responsibility, reputation, tradition, conservatives, authorities, long-term goals, accomplishments, patiently created, taking responsibility, creating structure, and setting boundaries. Once a year, the planet Saturn goes into retrograde for about 4.5 months. During this influence, you will probably find it unwise to attempt sudden changes or to rush through things. Take practical steps, accept limitations, while you take serious steps towards your long-term goals. Saturn retrograde can cause you to become your own hardest taskmaster, limit your actions, or leave you feeling blocked and pessimistic. Planet tracker. During this cycle, we have Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Aries, Mars in Virgo, Jupiter in Taurus, Saturn in Libra, Uranus in Aries, Neptune in Pisces, Pluto in Capricorn, and Chiron in Pisces. On behalf of Modern Pagan TV, we would like to thank you for joining us for Modern Pagan TV's Flying Through the Skies astrological segment, and we really hope to see you next week.
All right, that was nice. Oh, thank you, Kat, for another insightful reading of the stars. That was cool. So
I like astrology. It has such a tremendous influence on everything.
It does, yeah.
So
have you noticed that some of it's getting mainstream now? I mean, people are getting the whole Mercury retrograde thing. Because I hear that all the time. People go, oh, I can't get, Mercury must be retrograde. And I'm looking at them. Do you actually know what that means?
Most of them don't.
No, most of them don't.
It's a good quote.
Yeah. All right, so we didn't introduce ourselves, so I think we probably better do that. I'm Laura McKenzie.
And I'm Phil Catalano.
All right, and thank you for tuning in today. We want to talk about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, it means that you're not watching us live tonight.
We have also Skyping. and we have a variety of opportunities to call in and to type in.
And the chat room is up
room.
and going. People are chatting in there. That's kind of fun, too. I like to see that. We have a Skype person coming today. In fact, our main guest, our wonderful guest, our first bard. This is our first bard. You know, we have these different segments, and our segment tonight, our big segment, is the bards. And so Shauna Burns is coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada. So she's going to Skype in, and we're going to be playing some of her songs and videos. Wait, if you don't know this woman, wait until you hear her voice. It is awesome. So you're really in for a big treat tonight.
Looking forward to that.
Absolutely, right. We also want to talk about our Facebook and Twitter. We have followers on Twitter, which is really cool. We have Facebook, and we also have a donate button.
Right.
On our Facebook, on our page, so that's always nice. We've actually been getting some donations, and thank you very much. It's really very much appreciated. Also want to just segue then into my segment, Laura's Timely Tips. And today I'd like to talk about a really, really cool documentary. The documentary is Fresh. That's the name of it. The website is freshthemovie.com. And in what they talk about in Fresh, can we scroll that a little bit and so we can actually see the little, there we go. It's actually talking about how broken our agricultural system is here in the United States and the dangers of things like monoculture, which is, you know, the entire state of canvas being one great big huge wheat field or one great big huge cornfield. And people say, well, what's wrong with monoculture? And that takes me back to the 1840s in Ireland and a little thing called the potato famine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there were 4 million Irishmen, and then after that whole thing, there was 1 million. 3 million Irishmen had either left or died.
Isn't that corn you're referring to also genetically modified?
Oh, do not. Yes, absolutely. And we talk about that in there, in this. Anyway, please check out this video. And then we have another site. I don't know, you know, as a health writer, I follow a lot of different health writers myself, and one of them is Dr. Joe Mercola from, is a general practice doc in Chicago. And he actually has the most watched health site on, and he'll be the first to tell you that, the most watched health site on the internet. And this week in his blog, he actually has a link where you can watch the entire documentary Fresh until the 3rd of March. You can actually watch it for free. And then scroll down just a smidgy more for me. There's a link right at the bottom there of the intro to the video. If you click on that, it'll take you to a site where you can buy a copy of it for only $15, which is really good because it's usually twice that much. So I wish we could show the whole thing. There we go. There's the little the site where you can buy it. That supports them. It supports organic agriculture. It supports humane raising of our meat animals. And it shows that there are a couple of things that are really hard to watch in there, like them throwing the baby chicks out of the boxes into the barn. And then later on it actually gets worse. So I kind of had to go, and I kind of listened, and then I kind of peeked, and when it was safe, I watched it some more. But one of my big heroes, Joe Salatin, is the main farmer that they interview in that. I love Joel. I mean, he's a good Bible-thumping redneck, but I like him anyway because he really cares about the animals, and he really cares about what he's doing, and he really cares about...
Probably pagan at heart because of
I think
nature.
He probably is. He is. He's very... Oh, I mean, he goes out and talks to his pigs. I mean,
Then that's very pagan.
Yeah, it's very pagan. And so I really like him. I've actually met Joel, and I really do like him. And I didn't check his neck for redness, but it was pretty obvious. It was pretty obvious he was a redneck. But really, watch this because it's really, really cool. And I think you're going to really like it. And with that in mind, we're going to go to commercials, and then Crafty Kitchen Witch is talking about wands.